Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron Channel. I'm Steve Shaw. In this video, we're going to talk about the number of exercises per workout and the number of sets per exercise. Before I get into this topic, if you guys need coaching, check out the link down below. Coaching is what I do for a living. I would love to work with you. All right, so yesterday over on Team Massive, we were talking about the number of exercises per workout day. Now, let me tell you how the conversation got started. There was an influencer on Instagram that was talking about how all Silver Era, or most of the Silver Era guys, use something like 20 or more exercises for each training day, which is completely ridiculous and not true. I can only find a couple of workouts where this was the case, but that's besides the point. We started having this discussion about how many exercises per training day. What I want to do in this video is equip you guys with how to think about exercises and how to think about sets per training day in a practical, realistic manner that's going to apply to you and how many days a week you can train. Very, very simple rules and easy to remember. Now, the first thing you want to do is figure out how many days a week you can train, right? That's pretty easy. How many days a week can you train? How many days a week sustainably can you train? Don't just shoot for the moon and shoot for something ridiculous. I'm going to train 6 days a week when you don't have the capability to sustain it. Obviously, you can be flexible, so you could list 3.5 days a week or 4.5 days a week. Let's just say 4. Let's say you choose 4 days a week. I can train 4 days a week. From there, we're going to figure out how much time you can work out during each session. As a general rule, you can perform about 18 hard sets in 75 minutes. So the average individual that comes to me, this is kind of the spot we look at. And you can adjust up or down from here based on how much time you want to spend in the gym and basically how much time you want to fart around in the gym. Your gym could be packed, or it might take a long time to do deadlifts, so you might have to adjust this a little bit. But generally, 18 hard sets for 75 minutes. We're going to use this as a guideline, and again, you can adjust it as you need to. So let's say you're going to work out 4 days a week, and you have 18 hard sets per workout. This is 72 hard sets a week. Now, how many exercises could you use? Well, this is going to be up to you. I mean, there's no magic number of exercises. There's nothing to say you couldn't just do 1 set per exercise. The problem when you start bloating your program with more exercises is that you open the potential that you're going to have to warm up a lot more than normal. So you're probably going to have to reduce that a little bit. Convention with these 72 hard sets a week would be about 3 sets per exercise, or about 24 exercises a week. This would boil down to about 6 exercises per training day. Anybody that's worked with me knows that this is the starting point I use. And again, it's only a starting point. It's not a rule. It's not something we have to stick to. We can adjust, we can manipulate as we need to. Now, let's say you want to use 2 sets per exercise. That's perfectly fine. We have 72 hard sets a week. If we are using 2 sets per exercise, all of a sudden we're up to 36 exercise slots. Doesn't mean you can't use the same exercise on Monday and on Thursday. You could, but we have 36 exercise slots divided by 4 training days, and we're up to 9 exercises per training day. Now, if you want to get radical and just do 1 set per exercise, you could have 72 exercises per week over the course of 4 training days. This would be 18 a day. Of course, the issue you're going to get into is that you're going to run into a lot of warm-up demands. I don't really like doing 1 set per exercise. I find it to be tedious. I find I don't have that connection time. I find that I'm rushed to get in my warm-ups. It just doesn't feel like a good flow. The minimum I personally feel is a good flow is about 2 sets per exercise. If you want to do 1 set per exercise, you can certainly do so. You could also use something like my Savage protocol at the end of an exercise to add in a couple of rest pause sets. If you don't know what that is, or if you're unfamiliar with that, check out my video from last week on the Savage protocol. All right, so let's say you want to do 4 sets per exercise. You have 72 hard sets a week. That would be 18 exercises, or about 4.5 a day. You could certainly do that. And obviously, when we're getting into the math, you can mix and match how many sets per day. So You could lead off with 2 sets on the big compound movements and then 3 sets on the less time-consuming movements like the isolations. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're in a packed commercial gym or you're limited on time and squats and deadlifts are just taking a lot of time. You could reduce them to 2 sets per exercise, and then after that, you could do 3 sets for the rest of your exercise selection. If you start looking at 5 sets per exercise and you have 72 hard sets a week, you're looking at like 3 or 4 exercises per day. That's kind of why these more minimal 5x5 routines kind of work in that 4 exercise selection zone, maybe add in a 5th that's a little bit more on the milder side. Obviously, not every protocol in the 5x5 is a 5x5, so you can probably fit in 4 and maybe a 5th exercise. Again, you could start with the 5x5 and then work in 3 or 2 sets for every other exercise. So this is for 4 days a week. You can see if you compress this down to 3 days a week, you have 54 hard sets per week. Again, if you use 3 sets per exercise, this would be 6 exercises per day. If you want to go down to 2 sets per exercise, this would be 27 exercises per week. That would allow you a little bit more exercise flexibility, and probably the sweet spot is going with 2 on some and 3 on some. That way you can really focus on the exercises you want to hit. Now, I can't state enough, when you move to 2 sets per exercise, it's going to draw out your workout a little bit. And regardless of whether you're at a home gym or a commercial gym, it's, probably going to be a pain in the butt a little bit because you're going to have to switch equipment, fight for equipment, etc. So be very pragmatic and realistic and practical when it comes to structuring the number of sets per workout. Now, obviously, if you're training 5 days a week or even more, you have that kind of energy and stamina and time to dedicate to the gym, you can pretty much do whatever you want. The key thing I want to stress here is that there's no number of magical exercises per workout. There's no magical number of sets per exercise. This is absolute nonsense. If you look at the history of lifting, which is what I stress here on the Massive Iron channel, the last 70 years of lifting, you see a wide variety of protocols. None of them are magic. Always remember that the basic pillars of success that I define in the Massive Iron world, being consistent and using progressive overload and focusing on hard training and nailing your bulks, they are going to serve you well regardless of the number of exercises per day and regardless of the number of sets per exercise. Use what you enjoy and evolve your training based on what is happening in the gym. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.